All right, ready to dive deep into the legend that is Freddie Mercury.
Always.
But before the glitter and the glam rock, right?
Yeah.
And those stadiums full of fans singing along, there was just a young boy named Farrokh Bulsara.
Yeah.
So today, we are going to peel back all those layers.
Right.
And try to figure out how Farrokh Bulsara became the icon Freddie Mercury.
Absolutely.
So we've got biographies and interviews and all kinds of historical accounts.
Exciting.
Really, the whole works.
Wow.
You ready to uncover the roots of Freddie's incredible journey?
I am so ready. Let's do it. It's fascinating to think about how these early years really shaped him, you know?
Absolutely.
We're talking about a life that spans continents and cultures. It's a story, really, as much about global shifts as it is about one person's transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it all begins on this tiny little island off the coast of East Africa, Zanzibar. Can you paint a picture of Zanzibar for us? What was it like back then?
Okay, imagine a place, where Arabian dhows,
Yeah.
are sailing past these Indian spice markets, and the air is thick with the smell of cloves.
Oh.
Zanzibar was a true melting pot, this crossroads of cultures, languages, traditions.
Yeah.
It had this really vibrant mix of Arab, Indian, and African influences, which made it truly unique.
Wow. Talk about a rich tapestry of cultures.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like the kind of place where creativity could really, just flourish.
Oh, absolutely. And it's right in the heart of this kind of vibrant mix that Farrokh Bulsara is born in 1946
Okay.
to Parsi-Indian parents.
Yeah.
They were descendants of Persians who had migrated to India centuries earlier. And they were a close-knit community, deeply rooted in their Zoroastrian faith and known for their strong work ethic.
Okay, so he's growing up in this incredibly diverse environment
Yes.
with this, strong cultural heritage. That's fascinating. So what was his childhood like?
By all accounts, Farrokh had a fairly comfortable upbringing. The Bulsaras were relatively well off. They had domestic help, and he even had a nanny who he was particularly close to. They lived in this two-story flat in the heart of Zanzibar's Stone Town, which is this amazing maze of narrow alleys and historic buildings.
It's hard to imagine. I mean, Freddie Mercury's early years in such a setting, I mean, it feels so far from the rock star lifestyle he later embraced.
It really does, yeah. But even in those early years, you can kind of see hints of his artistic leanings.
Okay.
He loved music, and his parents encouraged, his creativity.
So we've got this young Farrokh. He's soaking up the vibrant culture of Zanzibar. But then things take a turn, don't they?
They do, yeah. At the age of 8, Farrokh is sent to boarding school in India.
Wow.
Pretty common practice, actually, for Parsi families at the time.
Okay.
He ends up at St. Peter's boarding school in Panchgani. It's a hill station near Bombay.
Boarding school at 8 years old. That's got to be a huge adjustment.
It is. It was. Think about it. He's leaving his family, his friends, everything that's familiar, and being kind of thrust into this totally new environment.
Right.
But it's here in India that his musical journey really starts to take off.
So this is where we plant those seeds for Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Well, St. Peter's was very much a British-style school, strong emphasis on academics, sports, and the arts.
Right.
They had a great music program, and that's where Farrokh starts taking piano lessons.
Piano lessons. Were there any early signs of the rock star that he would become?
Oh, absolutely. He was a natural,
Really?
picking things up really quickly. He even earned the nickname Freddie from his classmates,
Oh, wow.
which would stick with him for the rest of his life.
Incredible. So young Freddie is excelling at piano, and he even forms his first band, right?
Yes. Along with some friends, he formed a band called the Hectics.
The Hectics.
It was a school band, basically, covering popular Western hits of the day. Things like Elvis, Little Richard,
Oh, yeah.
Cliff Richard.
Okay, so he's getting a taste of rock and roll, honing those skills, and already performing on stage. I mean, you can almost see the path forming already.
You can. And it's important to note that this is happening against, the backdrop of a rapidly changing world. Western music was filtering into even the most remote corners of the globe.
Yeah.
And young people everywhere were kind of captivated by this new sound.
Yeah.
Freddie was no exception. He was drawn to that energy, the passion, and that rebellious spirit of rock and roll.
It sounds like this time at boarding school really nurtured his musical talent.
It did.
And exposed him to the music that would shape his career.
Yeah.
But what happens next? Does he stay in India?
He doesn't. After finishing school, he returns to Zanzibar to be with his family. But the world that he returns to was very different from the one that he left.
Oh, what was happening back in Zanzibar?
Well, Zanzibar, like many other colonies at the time, was in the midst of political upheaval.
Okay.
There were growing tensions between the Arab and African populations.
Right.
And the island was on the brink of revolution.
Wow. So Freddie's teenage years are unfolding against this backdrop of social and political change.
Exactly. And in 1964, things kind of reach a boiling point. The Zanzibar Revolution erupts, and the island is thrown into chaos.
Oh, wow.
It was a dangerous time, and the Bulsara family, like many other British citizens, decided to flee for their safety.
So fleeing a revolution, that's a pretty dramatic turn of events. Where did they go?
They could have gone back to India, but they chose England as their new home, landing at Heathrow Airport in May of 1964.
So at 17 years old, Freddie finds himself uprooted again from everything familiar and starting this new life in a completely different country.
Huge cultural shift,
Yeah.
a world away from those sun-drenched streets of Zanzibar.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine arriving in kind of dreary post-war England, facing a new language, new customs, a whole new way of life.
It's got to be disorienting. I mean, it's hard enough being a teenager, let alone, navigating a new culture and leaving everything behind.
Yeah, it was. And while we don't have Freddie's direct account of this period, we can only imagine how these experiences,
Yeah.
the upheaval of revolution, displacement, exposure to diverse cultures, might have shaped his worldview and kind of contributed to the complex and fascinating individual he would become.
Yeah, it's like all these pieces are starting to come together.
Right.
The musical talent, the cultural influences, the personal upheaval really sets the stage for the transformation that's about to unfold.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we'll have to wait for part 2 to really dive into that.
I guess so. It's interesting to think about, how that move to England with all its challenges and uncertainties, how that might have actually fueled Freddie's creative fire.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It makes you wonder if art became an outlet for him, a way to process those experiences and find his place in this new world.
Absolutely. And remember, he's only 17.
Right.
Thrown into this totally new environment. He's got that passion for music burning inside.
Yeah.
But now he's also surrounded by British culture and fashion and art. It's like a whole new set of influences to kind of absorb and reinterpret.
So what happens next? Does he jump back into music?
Well, not right away. First, he focuses on getting settled, completing his education.
Okay.
He enrolls at Isleworth Polytechnic, a school known for its art and design programs.
It's a little bit surprising, right?
Yeah.
You'd think with his musical background, he would dive straight into, a music conservatory or something.
You would think so.
What do you think drew him to the visual arts?
Well, maybe it was a way to explore a different form of creative expression, or maybe he saw graphic design as a more practical path.
Right.
Whatever the reason, that decision to study art ends up playing a crucial role in shaping his future persona.
I can see that. Art school would have given him a whole new set of tools for visual storytelling, which would become integral to Queen's elaborate stage shows and their music videos.
Exactly. And it's not just about the visuals either.
Yeah.
Art school would have exposed him to all these different artistic movements, philosophies, ways of thinking.
Right.
Imagine him surrounded by all these fellow creatives discussing ideas, pushing boundaries, experimenting with different forms of expression.
It sounds like the perfect breeding ground for someone like Freddie, who was always drawn to the unconventional and the theatrical.
Right.
Did this period, though, have a direct influence on his music, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, think about Queen's music videos, right?
Yeah.
The elaborate costumes, the dramatic lighting, the theatrical narratives, it all goes back to those art school days. In fact, after Isleworth, he continued his studies at Ealing Art College.
Oh, wow.
Focusing on graphic illustration and design.
So he's honing his visual skills, deepening his understanding of art and design.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the music? Is he still playing? Is he performing?
Oh, yeah. He never truly abandoned his musical passions.
Right.
While at Ealing, he joins a band called Ibex.
Ibex.
A blues rock outfit from Liverpool.
Right.
And this marks a pretty significant step in his musical development.
Okay, let's talk about Ibex. What kind of music were they playing? What was Freddie's role in the band?
Well, Ibex was heavily influenced by the British blues boom of the late 60s.
Hmm.
Bands like Cream, Led Zeppelin, John Mayall, and the Blues Breakers.
Okay.
They were known for their extended jams, their raw energy, and those powerful vocals.
Yeah.
A perfect match for Freddie's developing stage presence.
So he's fronting this blues rock band, belting out powerful vocals, and experimenting with stage presence.
Hmm.
It's really starting to sound a lot like the Freddie we know.
It is. And this is where we really see that natural showmanship of his begin to shine.
Yeah.
There are these stories of him leaping onto tables, interacting with the audience, really captivating their attention. It's clear he's not content to just stand still and sing.
Right.
He wants to create a spectacle.
That's so Freddie.
Yeah.
Always pushing the boundaries, always captivating the audience. But was Ibex his only musical outlet at the time?
It wasn't. After Ibex disbands, he briefly joins another band called Wreckage.
Wreckage.
But it's a short-lived thing. He's clearly searching for something more.
Right.
A band that truly matches his ambitions and his artistic vision.
So he's got the talent, the drive, the visual flair. He's paying his dues in the London music scene.
Yeah.
But something's missing. What's the missing piece?
The people. The right collaborators. Those musical partners who could match his energy and help him realize his vision.
Yeah.
And as fate would have it, he's about to cross paths with those very people.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
We're finally approaching the Queen era.
We are.
Tell me more.
Okay, picture this. Freddie's hanging out at a student fashion show in Kensington.
Okay.
Just kind of soaking up the creative energy.
Yeah.
And there, performing on stage, is a band called Smile.
Smile, the band that would eventually become Queen. This is a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Freddie is immediately captivated by Smile's music.
Okay.
He's drawn to their intricate harmonies, their blend of hard rock and progressive elements.
Yeah.
He starts attending their gigs regularly, befriending the band members, offering his thoughts on their music.
I can just imagine him like bursting with ideas,
Yeah.
eager to share his vision. So what did the members of Smile think about this, like, enthusiastic art student who kept showing up at their gigs?
Well, they were impressed by his vocal range and his stage presence and his infectious energy.
Yeah.
But, they already had a lead singer, so they weren't initially looking for a new frontman.
So Freddie's on the sidelines, watching this band that he clearly connects with. That must have been frustrating for him. Did he just sit back and wait for an opportunity?
Not Freddie.
Yeah.
He was never one to sit idly by.
Right.
He saw something special in Smile, and he was determined to be a part of it. So when their lead singer left the band in 1970, Freddie seized that opportunity.
I bet he didn't hesitate for a second.
Yeah.
So he finally gets his chance to join the band.
He does.
What happens next?
This is where the transformation really begins. Freddie joins Smile, and they start experimenting with new sounds and new ideas, pushing the boundaries of rock music.
Okay.
But something is still missing.
Yeah.
They need a name
Right.
that reflects this evolving identity, a name that captures their ambition and that unique blend of musical styles.
And that's how Queen is born?
Exactly. It's Freddie who suggests the name Queen.
Oh, wow.
He felt it was, regal and powerful and slightly androgynous.
Yeah.
A perfect reflection of the image that they wanted to project.
It is such a perfect fit. I mean, you hear the name Queen, and you instantly picture their iconic logo, their flamboyant stage shows, their anthemic music.
Yeah, it's brilliant branding, really, and it marks a pretty significant turning point,
Yeah.
It's more than just a name change.
Right.
It's like a declaration of intent.
Yeah.
They're no longer just a band. They're a force to be reckoned with.
So Farrokh Bulsara, that boy from Zanzibar, who journeyed through boarding school and art college, has now officially stepped into his destiny as Freddie Mercury,
He has.
the frontman of Queen.
Yes.
And the world is about to take notice.
Yes, they are.
This is where the real fun begins, but we'll have to save that part of the story for our next segment.
I guess so.
Okay, we're back, ready to dive into the birth of Queen.
Yes.
So we've seen how Farrokh Bulsara became Freddie Mercury, but how did this brand new band, how did they find their sound
Right.
and go on to conquer the world?
It's amazing how quickly they gelled as a unit. You've got Freddie with his, theatrical vision and vocal prowess. And Brian May's, innovative guitar work
Yeah.
and songwriting. Roger Taylor's powerful drumming, those harmonies. It's a really potent mix.
Talk about a musical powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's like they were destined to find each other, but their music wasn't just a fusion of talents, was it? It was something totally new.
Absolutely. They weren't afraid to experiment, blend genres, really push those boundaries of rock music. They incorporated elements of opera, classical music, vaudeville.
Wow.
Even a touch of like hard rock and heavy metal.
It's that fearlessness that really defines Queen, I think. They were never content to stay in one lane.
Yeah.
And that's what made them so exciting and unpredictable.
It did. And a lot of that creative daring can be traced back to Freddie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he wasn't just a singer.
Right.
He was a showman, storyteller.
Yeah.
And he brought that theatrical flair to everything they did.
He was always pushing the envelope, wasn't he? I mean, from those elaborate costumes to those, like, operatic vocals.
Yeah.
That captivating stage presence. I mean, he was a true original. Did his art school background play a role in that, do you think?
Absolutely. His visual sensibilities, his understanding of design and composition, it all kind of fed into Queen's visual identity.
Yeah.
And those epic live performances.
It's amazing to think how his passion for art really shaped the band's aesthetic.
Uh-huh.
But let's talk about the music itself.
Okay.
I mean, their first album, just simply titled Queen, came out in 1973.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reaction like?
It actually got mixed reviews.
Really?
Yeah. Some critics praised their originality and musical diversity,
Yeah.
while others found their sound a bit too theatrical, maybe too over the top for what was happening in the rock world at the time.
So not everyone got it right away,
Right.
but something tells me they weren't fazed by a few bad reviews.
No, not at all. They had a clear vision, and they were determined to see it through.
Good for them.
Yeah. Their second album, Queen 7, was released in 1974.
Okay.
And it leaned heavily into like their progressive rock influences,
Okay.
showcasing their complex arrangements.
Right.
And Freddie's remarkable vocal range.
Speaking of which, I mean, that's something that really set Freddie apart. Can you talk about what made his voice so unique, so powerful?
Well, his voice was like an instrument in itself.
Yeah.
He had this incredible 4-octave range,
Wow.
which means he could, hit those incredibly low notes, but also soar to those incredibly high notes.
Right.
All with this power and control.
It's like he had a whole symphony orchestra living in his vocal cords.
Yeah.
Are there any songs that really showcase that range?
Oh, tons. Somebody to Love.
Yeah.
Showcases that ability to move so effortlessly from like a deep baritone to that soaring falsetto.
Right.
And then you've got Bohemian Rhapsody, which takes you on this wild vocal roller coaster through all these different styles and emotions.
It really does. Bohemian Rhapsody it's such a masterpiece. It's like a mini opera in a 6-minute pop song.
It is.
It's no wonder it became their breakthrough hit. It propelled them to global stardom.
Absolutely. It's a testament to their audacity, their willingness to break all the rules and create something truly unique. And, from there, they just kept pushing those boundaries, releasing hit after hit, album after album, each one kind of showcasing their musical versatility and Freddie's magnetic persona.
It's remarkable when you think about it. I mean, they went from this band playing like small clubs in London to headlining stadiums worldwide, becoming one of the best-selling music artists of all time.
Really is. It's a true testament to their talent, their vision, and that unwavering belief in themselves.
So we've traced this journey of Farrokh Bulsara, the boy from Zanzibar who embraced his passion for music, navigated those cultural shifts, and ultimately transformed into Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
The iconic frontman of Queen. What a story.
It's a story that reminds us of the power of individuality, creativity, and the courage to really follow your dreams, no matter how audacious they may seem.
And it all started with those formative years.
Yeah.
Those early experiences that shaped his worldview.
Right.
And fueled that artistic fire.
So what do you think, listeners?
Yeah.
How did Freddie Mercury's unique blend of cultural influences and personal journeys contribute to his global appeal? What is it about his music?
Yeah.
And his persona that still resonates with us today? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Wow.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and never stop exploring.
Was free.